Nope, I don't want you recording yet. Welcome, 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 everybody, back to another episode of the Melanin Wellness Podcast. I am so excited about our guest today. She is a pain reduction coach, and we are going to get into that topic because you all know that that is something that is so near and dear to my heart because I have lupus. And so you guys know that chronic pain is a thing or has been a thing at some point in my life. But before we get started, I want to just remind everybody, even though I think you know who you're listening to, but let me just remind you, I'm Karina from Flexible Soul Yoga, and this episode is it's just going to be so powerful. I already know it. I am a yoga instructor. I am a Reiki healer. I'm a meditation instructor, and I help other people who are dealing with trauma or injury to heal naturally. And it is such a huge passion of mine. That's why I started this podcast. And so I am so excited to dive into this topic today. But before we do, y'all know how we do around here. We always do our 30 seconds of gratitude before we begin. And since we have a guest today, Fran, you are our guest. So I will allow you to begin first with your gratitude.
My gratitude is for you and your podcast and all your listeners. I'm really happy to be here and you're doing amazing things. And it's so great that you're serving your audience. So my gratitude is towards you. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, my 30 seconds of gratitude is for my audience, of course, because I could not do any of what I do without you. I would not have just recently found out that I have an international audience, which was so exciting. And that's a big deal because I started this podcast just as a way to help me come out of my introverted shell. And so to find that it is reaching people and helping people makes my heart do a happy dance. So I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for the people who reach out to connect with me and come and share their gifts with others and their knowledge with others to help others learn how to heal all the various things that are going on with us. I'm so grateful for the whole healthy foods that my family and I have access to. I'm grateful for transportation. I am just grateful to be alive. Now, y'all know that was probably more than 30 seconds, but that's okay. Because when giving gratitude, you can never be grateful enough. And listen, I could go on and on because gratitude and negativity cannot coexist in that same space. So when you're in that space of gratitude, you're all good. Let's get into it. I'm so excited. So, my guest today, Fran Garton, she is a pain reduction coach. She is also a fibromyalgia warrior. She's an author, a speaker, and she's a body inclusive personal trainer. And now I've read her bio, but I'm going to let her tell you a little about herself. Welcome to the show, Fran.
Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. So tell my audience more about you. Where are you from? What's your story?
Oh gosh, the hardest question for, I love that. I go on all these podcasts and talk to all these people. Tell me about your story. I'm like, I got a lot of story to tell, but okay.
Hey, we
So
love it. We love it here. We love it.
okay, so let me bring you back to 2011.
Okay.
So in I was working as an adult educator, and I did
Mhm.
that for 16 years. I left that in 2019. But in 2011, I was suffering with headaches and nausea and vision issues, and I had been suffering with that for about 9 months. And then one morning, I walked into my classroom and I turned on the lights and I couldn't see anything.
Wow.
Yeah, right? Yeah, like
Yes.
WTF, man. So I, yeah, like you just kind of, okay. So I kind of stood there for a little bit, terrified, of course, not knowing what was going on. The vision came back in one of my eyes, so that was good. But the other eye, I had nothing. So I staggered myself upstairs to my manager's office, and she's like, "You look so good." I'm like, "I don't feel so good. I can't see out of my eye, and I gotta go." And she's like, "Yeah, but," and she starts asking me all these questions. I'm like, "I'm out. I gotta go. I'm leaving." And I left. Like that was it. I left. And what ended up happening was after many tests and going to see specialists and the ophthalmologist, the eye specialist and everything, I got diagnosed with what was called central serous retinopathy. So basically what happens is your eye, when we look at things, we have two images, one from each eye, and the brain puts them together in one. And so the fluid behind the retina keeps everything lubricated and good. And when you have things in your life, so for me, it was stress, the connective tissue and that barrier with the fluid gets thin and the fluid leaks out and it causes blurred vision. But for most people that have this, and it's very common, okay, they don't have the loss of vision. They don't have the headaches. What happens is their brain does what it's supposed to. It goes, oh, well, we can only see out of one eye. No problem. We just make it look like it's one image. And people don't really know that they've lost any vision because their brain just corrects for it. Whereas my brain was like, no, we're not doing that. You are not going to be able to see. And I was in bed for 4 months with a migraine and vision loss.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was
Oh,
from stress.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, you know, when I think about the time and I talk about it, I don't really know what happened during that 4-month period. Like I went to appointments, people came to get me and take me. I took meds. I didn't eat very much. I didn't do very much. I don't really even remember that 4-month period because I was in bed. I couldn't do anything. And so after the vision came back and then I went back to work, I sort of started to, you know, it's funny. We think that we're smart. I mean, no disrespect to anybody because I'm commenting on myself, but we think we're really smart and we're like, I got this stress thing figured out. I'm good. I've set some boundaries, but really I didn't deal with anything. And I just kind of slid back into the old way of things with a little bit of extra rest here and there. And then a couple of years after that, I was started having lots of pain in my hands and my feet and my arms and legs. Like it was like bolts of electricity. It would wake me up. And when I say wake up, I'm going to put that in quotation marks because I wasn't sleeping. I just passed out because I was exhausted. And I would wake up with a jolt of electricity through my body. And that went on for months. And then one day I was at roller derby practice and I was skating around the track and with my teammates and we're skating around, we're doing testing skills testing. And I actually collapsed on the ground because I could not hold myself up anymore because of the pain in my feet. And I just started bawling my eyes out.
Wow.
Yeah. And so eventually dragged myself off the track. Like I could hear my teammates swishing past me as they're skating past me and jumping over, trying not to land on me because I was in the middle of the track. Like,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So finally get off the track, get home, go to the doctor, finally get a referral and see a rheumatologist and get diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And so I don't know how it is where you are, but where we are, we wait, like I'm in Canada, I'm in Ontario. And so I waited for almost 7 months before I saw the rheumatologist after I got my referral.
Wow.
So I'm still dealing with pain, not knowing what's happening. My doctor's like giving me meds that kind of are helping, but don't really know what's going on. So then I get my diagnosis, which is all fine and well, but there's nothing to be done because fibro can't be cured.
Right.
There's not really anything to do about it. And I know people that had it. So I talked to them and I did all the research and reading and all the things, right? You do all the things that you can do. And basically, I feel that the information I was given and the advice that I was given, which maybe some of your listeners are experiencing this, or maybe you did when you got your lupus diagnosis. This is how it is. These are the things you're going to suffer with. You're going to plan for your flare-ups, try not to have too much pain, minimize your stress. That's just life and deal with it.
Yep.
And so I was, what's the word that I want? I don't know what word I want to say. I felt very disappointed and very let down and very frustrated because there's not really anything to do. I did what they told me. I took my meds and I did all that stuff. And it didn't really help. Like I still had lots of pain. Now, prior to getting a diagnosis, my pain level was like 15 out of 10 on a daily basis. My
Yes.
day was wake up. Oh my God, how am I getting out of bed? Please help me
Yes.
get out of bed. Get
Yes.
myself in the shower, cry in the shower
Yes.
because of what's happening and I don't know what to do. But then also crying in the shower because now I have to get out of the shower to get
Yes.
dressed, go do my job.
Yes.
So do that, take some Advil, take some anti-nausea medication, get through my day, come home, take drugs, go to bed. Like that
Yes.
basically was what I did for years. And the flare-ups were really bad. And so then once I got on medication that the rheumatologist gave me, my pain level went to like an 8 out of 10. And I'm like, this is awesome. Like living at 15 for a couple of years, and now I'm an 8. Woo! Like it's part time. Like I'm
So
an
now
8.
that's pretty bad when you think 8 out of 10 is living. Okay. I've been there.
Right. Yes. Right. And so then about, I'm going to say we're 2020, about 5 years ago, I was working with a fitness mentor, and he had been seeing someone who was a bioenergetic practitioner, and they look at sort of how the organs are working and how's the energy flow and all that. And
Right.
I had some pain in my wrist, and I had a big lump there that they didn't know what it was, and it caused a
Ganglion
lot of pain.
cyst.
Yeah, it was a ganglion cyst. This is exactly what it was. But they didn't really, but it caused pain, and I couldn't do anything with my hand at all. So I went to see this guy, drove 2 hours to see him. And he said to me, you came for the lump on your wrist? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, there's other things. I'm like, I'm aware of all the other things. Like I'm aware, but I want you to fix, like, help me with this thing. And he's like, okay. He goes, well, first of all, the inflammation in your body is so bad that you're not exercising at all. I'm taking that off the table for you. And I'm a personal trainer at this point, part-time, as well as teaching. I'm thinking, how am I going to do training? How am I going to teach fitness classes and he's like, I don't know, but you're not doing anything. Changed all my food. I worked with a mindset coach. I did forgiveness work. I did self-love work, self-acceptance, all the things. Went through the fire, so to speak. And if you've done this work and people, whether I know you've done it, but people that are listening, if you've done it, or you're like, ooh, that's the thing I got to do. Yeah, you got to do it. You got to go through it to get through it. That's what I always say. And it sucks when you're in it and you got to do it, but you have to, because once you release all that stuff, then you get to the point where I live pain-free and I don't take medication. And I don't have, right. And I don't have flare-ups. Like if I do, it's because I was not mindful of how I was moving. I was not mindful of the thoughts that were going in my head when I was doing the things that I was doing. I was not mindful and making very clear decisions about who I'm spending my time with and things that I'm talking about and things I'm listening to and all that stuff. That's when I have the flare-up. And that's the pain. But other than that, I don't live with pain. Like today I'm 0. And I taught 2 classes today, and I worked with clients, and I did coaching, and I did another podcast. And so I've done a lot of stuff today, but I don't have pain, not like I did. And so now it's kind of like a joke. And I say this on every episode, everything that I'm on. My husband is like, he's the other thing I'm grateful for, because without him, I wouldn't have got through all of this. But he's the guy that, I'll say, oh God, babe, I'm in pain today. And he's like, really? What's your number? And I'm like, oh, what do you mean? Like the first time he asked me, I was like, what do you want with my number? I'm bad. And he goes, no. What's your pain level? What's your number? And I'm like, oh my God, it's a 3. Today's a 3. And he goes, that's not pain. You're fine. And I'm thinking, I'm not fine. I'm 3. That's big. He goes, babe, listen to me, babe. You lived at 15 out of 10. I'm like, I know. And he goes, and then you was at 8 and thought it was fantastic. I said, I know. But now my life is 0. And so when I hit a 3, I'm like, oh man, when I hit a 5, I'm like the biggest baby in the world, because I just don't have pain, right?
Yes.
It's not like it was. It's not, even if it's a flare, it doesn't last for hours and days at a time.
Yes.
It's very short-lived. So for me now, it's so relative. And I think that's the thing for people, is that wherever you are, what you're in at this moment is only, you only have an evaluation of it in relation to where you were either previously or where you want to be. right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that it's kind of like this sliding scale. Where am I right now in that pain level, or in that uncomfortable situation maybe that I'm in? Well, that's only in comparison to where you were or weren't before.
Right. Right. And now, it's funny because you talk about remembering living at 15, and like I can remember being there for the majority of my life. My symptoms started when I was about 8,
Wow.
and I did not get diagnosed until 3 years ago, 2019, October
Wow.
of 2019. So I walked around hurting for so many years, and it became just a part of my daily life. And that's something that I don't think people understand about people who typically would struggle with chronic pain, that you can look at them and they look perfectly fine. They can be smiling and chitter chattering and just going on and on and on, like everything's all good, but they are hurting so much that it's almost like your brain becomes programmed to, that's just a part of our our makeup now. That's a part of our makeup. And so we just get up, we do the best we can, and we keep moving. And that's all you can do. And so, with there being no cure for fibromyalgia or for lupus, when you hear someone who successfully has remained either flare free or reduces their pain levels or lives pain free, it is an amazing story. Now, I know how I got there, but how long have you been in this state of pain free living?
Almost 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So what exactly, like what were the steps? Because again, we've got people who deal with these chronic issues that listen. And so
Yes.
they're like, I know they've got pen and paper right now, and they're like, well, waiting, like, okay, what's the first step? So
Okay.
like a starting point. What if
Okay.
someone comes to you and they're like, I'm just in so much pain, like where do I start?
Yeah. So the thing is that your gut health is extremely important.
Absolutely.
So there are foods in the world that are inflammatory. Gluten,
Yes.
dairy, sugar, corn, soy. They're inflammatory foods.
Yes.
And people, I know that I talk to people and they're like, I'm fine, I can eat gluten. No, you can't eat gluten. You just are in an inflamed state. So you're just always the same way. So
Yes.
you're always bloated. You always have, swollen fingers and joints and all that. And you can't move very well and you feel gassy and all that stuff, because that's how I am. No, nobody should be that way. Like you shouldn't. So this is a perfect example of gut health. You shouldn't have gas. You
Right.
shouldn't be bloated after you eat food. So I say to people, if you really want to think about your inflammation and bringing your inflammation level down, cut out sugar.
Yes.
Just cut out sugar. Okay. I would love for you to cut out gluten and dairy and all the other things, but if you're not going to do all that and it's too difficult, I don't understand that, Karina, to be honest, because I have been gluten free for 26 years.
Oh, wow. Wow. And that was before gluten free became
Before
a
there was
thing,
anything good. Yeah. So
right?
I went gluten free. There was a few products and they were horrible. So you just didn't eat gluten.
I can
There
remember
was no
some of those.
substitution. Yeah, there was no substitution. You're just like, I don't eat that anymore. Like that's just it.
Yes.
I don't eat it.
Yes.
So now it's much different. But so I would say inflammatory foods and getting the gut health under control and getting that healthy again is really important. So just give up sugar, because we got these parasites and these bacteria in there and they're having a party. Every time you give them sugar, they're like, what? I'm done.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
you get the inflammation. So really, and when it comes to a pain thing, I want people to know, which they might not know, the connective tissues in our body, like all the things that make us able to move our hands around and our bodies and give us flexibility, right? And that movement piece, the fascia should slide. It should be seamless. And so, like, I'm sitting
Yes.
here waving my hands, and my hands and fingers are moving, and everything's moving. When you eat sugar, the sugar turns your fascia into Velcro.
Yes.
It does not move. So it sticks like Velcro. So then think about, people talk about plantar fasciitis on the bottom of their foot. All that is the fascia that runs through the bottom of the foot and up the Achilles tendon cannot move.
Yes.
It's inflamed and it can't move. And part of that is because you got sugar in your body. That's
Yes.
causing inflammation. So just get rid of that. I've had clients that got rid of sugar, and in 7 days, they could not believe how little pain they had from their arthritis that they have had for years
Yes.
is gone in a
Yes.
week. So number one, get rid of sugar. Okay.
All right. So now, what would you say to those folks who, because that's easy to say, but you've got, now we know that there's sugar in darn near everything. It's like, it's impossible to get like completely out of sugar. However, what would you say to the folks who say, you know what, I can't just let go of sugar like that and yada, yada, yada. Again, it's difficult. I know. But what would you say? How would you tell them to just kind of start with reducing that sugar?
Yes. So I want you to think about a couple of things. Number one, you're going to look at the food that you're eating. Okay. So you get 20 grams of sugar a day.
Right.
That's it. Okay. So even if you're not going to eliminate it, then I'm going to say you get 20 grams of sugar a day. So I want you to look at where your sugar is hiding.
Yeah.
Salad dressings.
Yes.
Any kind of sauces. People eat yogurt and granola. Yogurt and granola is fine. You know how much sugar is in yogurt?
It's a lot.
A lot of sugar. If you buy the yogurt that has the fruit on the bottom, it's more than 20 grams for one little cup of it. So look at the food that you're eating, because for many people, when they say, well, sugar's in everything. Yes, I agree, Karina. Sugar's in everything. Yep. But if I'm eating fruits and vegetables and meats and protein sources that are like whole foods, they're like, if I read the package, it should say meat. Right. There should be nothing else in there. Right. So look at what you're eating. I would say have a really good look at what you're eating. And where is that sugar? Because I had a client once that I was working with, and she was a very healthy eater. Like, she cooked everything at home from scratch. And she was like, it was her salad dressings was where she was getting the sugar, and her sauces that she was using. And I'm like, just look at those, because she was surprised at how much sugar is in there. And when you talk about sugar, the second thing I would say, so 20 grams of sugar a day, if you're not going to cut it out completely. Second thing, sugar is not just sweet stuff. So I want you to think about white bread, potatoes, rice, pasta noodles. Those are simple sugars. So simple carbs are sugars. So how about we get rid of those? Because you want to make sure that you're not eating just those. So look at what you're eating, because that will make a big difference. So 20 grams of sugar a day. The next thing I would say is, so this is where it gets real here. Why are you so dependent on sugar? What's missing? What is missing from your life? So many people they're emotional eaters. Many people were raised that, when you take care of people and that you show that you care for them, you give them food. If they need comfort, they get food. So is that what you're doing? What is something that's happening in your life? You got to look at your thoughts, your emotions, your patterns, because those things will lead you to maybe go to emotional eating or picking up something that's a little bit more sugary. So it's a habit. Like, sugar is a habit. And once we heal it and get through it, it doesn't mean you can't ever have it, but you'll feel better. So when you do have it and you feel it in your body, you'll be like, oh, that was a bad idea. Like, you'll feel the sugar and you go, oh man, I have pain now. So it wasn't worth it. And I'm not saying I'm not saying I don't ever eat sugar. I do. Sure. I enjoy my life, but it's not constant. Right.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's the difference. We got to have that balance.
Absolutely. I agree totally and completely. Listen, I know for a fact that you gave my audience so much to think about, and so many, like I know their brains are like, okay, all right, that makes sense. But so before we get ready to bring this episode to a close, I have a game I want to play with you. Are you game? All right.
Yeah,
all right. It's called This or That. So I ask you a series of questions, and you just tell me which one you prefer. It's kind of fun. All right. Question 1, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Indoors or outdoors?
I live in Ontario. Oh man, depends on the season. If it's fall and summer, outside. Spring and winter, inside.
Okay. Vacation or staycation?
These are not easy questions. Staycation if I get to volunteer with my donkeys all the time. Vacation if I'm going to be at the beach.
Okay.
Oh, I'm picking both.
Okay. So running or yoga?
So I have this relationship with yoga. I love yoga, and I practiced yoga for a very long time religiously.
Mm.
And then I kind of fell out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started running. And I don't like the act of running.
I don't either.
I like the accomplishment of running.
Right.
But I'm going to pick yoga.
Okay.
I'm going to pick yoga.
All right. Cats or
Oh,
dogs?
cats. No,
Okay.
I got five.
Morning or night?
Morning.
Test the waters or dive in the deep end?
Just dive in the deep end.
Art museum or history museum?
Oh, come on. This is hard. I'm going to say art museum.
Nice. Again, thank you so much for coming on the show. So before you go, please share with my audience how they can reach out to you if they'd like to work with you. Do you have any upcoming workshops or courses or memberships or anything like that that you would really like to promote and share and get out to the people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. You can find me on Instagram, Fran Garton Pain Coach. My website is frangartoncoaching.com. And if you go to the website, you can actually, I offer a free 15-minute chat with people, no obligation at all. So if you have questions or you want a little bit more about some of the things I talked about, I'm happy to chat with you about that. And you can book that through the website. I do one-on-one coaching. So I do a 12-week program. And we dive into stress management. We talk about time management, boundaries. We do emotions. We do forgiveness. We do pain, inflammation. So we do a lot of things in that 12-week period. And then I also have a group coaching program. So same idea as far as topics are concerned, but we do it in a group container, and we do it in we do 3-week period actually. So that's something that I have. And then I also have a course, which is 4 weeks, 4 modules, and you do that on your own. So you can just purchase that through my website. I give you all the information. There's information videos, there's worksheets and activities that you do, but that's self-driven. So there are a number of ways that you can work with me, but it's always best, if you're not sure, to reach out and we'll have a chat, and then I can better direct you, because some people, they need to start with the course and do some of that work. And then they're like, oh, now I think I can dive in a little bit more. And then they go into group or one-on-one. So it just depends on the person and what they're dealing with and what they need to, what goals they want to achieve. But I think, if you're looking to live pain-free, it's totally possible. Like Karina and I do it. It can totally be done.
Yes.
But the thing is, this is my last thought that I would say to your listeners. You have the control and you have the power to make the change in your life, to live pain-free and to live the life that you want to live. However, you also are the one that's holding you back from that. So you have to think about, so ask yourself the questions. So I ask my clients all the time, if where you are today and what is happening and how your life is designed today never changes moving forward, are you happy with it? If the answer is yes, you don't need me. If the answer is no, then maybe you need me or Karina or somebody else out there that can help you. But if nothing changes, are you good where you are? Or do you want more? Do you want to live pain-free? Because it's totally possible.
Awesome. Listen, guys, all of Fran's socials, her website, all of that will be in the show notes beneath this episode. So if you want to connect with her, you should be able to do so. Thank you again so much for joining us here on the Melanin Wellness Podcast. This was an amazing episode. Thank you to my listeners for tuning in once again. I love you so much for listening. Mwah. Until next episode, take care and be well, everyone.